Great. Hello, I'm Susie Francois, the co-founder of Imagine This Women's International Film Festival, and I would like to welcome you to Girl Power Film Media Summit. Thank you for joining us for the Talk Back with the Filmmakers. With us today, we have Andy Morrow, Bronwyn Davies, and Molly Smith. Thank you so much. Now we're going to jump right into the talk back. Welcome, ladies. And if you can just tell us a little bit about yourselves and the film.
Okay, I'll go first. Hello, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be a
You're
part
welcome.
of this.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Andy Morrow. I currently live in Los Angeles, but I am originally from Tennessee. I grew up in Appalachia, Central Appalachia. And I made the film Pusher, short film Pusher, which follows a young woman in an Appalachian town who finds herself in the middle of the opioid epidemic selling pain pills. And it's just a day in the life of her kind of navigating the damage she's caused to herself and her community.
Oh, thank you. And Molly
Thank
Smith?
you.
Hi, my name is Molly Smith. I'm from Orlando, Florida. I just recently graduated high school in 2020, and I'm on a gap year right now, but I'm attending school the next year. My film is Dear America. It's a PSA short film about gun violence, and it was written based off of a poem that I wrote growing up in Orlando after the Pulse shooting and then also seeing the Parkland shooting as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And Bronwyn Davies, am I pronouncing your name right?
Bronwyn, it's close enough. I get the gist. But yeah, I'm Bronwyn. I'm a little bit up north from you all. I'm from Vancouver, BC in Canada. And my short film, Women You Won't See on TV, is kind of born from the idea that you don't have to be Serena Williams to really enjoy and love participating in sports. So I kind of approached making this little short 2-minute piece showing the women that you wouldn't necessarily see in a Nike commercial, but still feels and looks like one. So all of the women donating their time completely for free to go film with me. And most of them were either strangers online or friends of friends, and they just really believed in the passion of the idea. And it was really fun to make, even more fun to do. And I'm super excited to share it with everyone.
Oh, that's exciting. And if you guys can just tell us what's the process as a director or writer, how did you approach the material?
I can go off on this since I was just talking. But a lot of it was from my own experience. And I also had a focus group with a bunch of women in my local community talking about either barriers to entry in sports, why they quit playing sports, why they took it up later in life, where was that transition point between being kids and adults. So it's kind of a cumulative effort of all of these different women and all these people to talk to. So it really, they're my words, but the meaning behind the words is so much bigger than that.
Thank you for that. And Andy?
Yeah, so from kind of like what Bronwyn was saying, my film came from a lot of personal experiences as well. Just growing up in Appalachia and seeing the opioid epidemic happen all around me and to people I know and love. It just, the story kind of came naturally based on a lot that inspiration and just wanting to send out a message that encouraged people to talk about this issue and to humanize addiction and humanize people in Appalachia suffering from addiction. So it kind of felt like it poured out of me in a way, like it was like a divine intervention kind of thing. Like there was the story. And from there, it was just, really finding people to help me bring the vision to life who really believed in the story. And I was very fortunate that I found those people. I got a producer who was like, let's do it from the get-go. So it was a lot of learning as I went, but finding people who really were supportive of me during the whole process.
Okay, great. And Molly, if you can just share with us your process.
Yeah, I had a really similar experience. I mean, it was obviously all through my eyes as a high schooler, just growing up in this time where you're seeing things around you change. You're seeing the security increase on your school campus, and we were actually. I remember the day that the Parkland shooting happened because we are about 2 hours away from that school, but everybody knew somebody who was there.
Mm.
And we had this area in our school where there was like a TV on the wall and it would play news. And that day it was just playing a constant news cycle about this shooting. And we were all gathered around the TV just watching, and it was Valentine's Day. And so there was kids holding like roses they gave to their friends and chocolates, and it was like this weird moment where we were all just kids trying to enjoy Valentine's Day, and this horrible, horrible thing had happened at a school just like ours. And so it was like that one moment where I was like, I have to say something about this. And so I wrote this poem about my experience and about how it felt and how we felt sort of powerless and not being able to vote, but still being subject to these policies regarding guns. And so I wrote that poem, and that became the script for the film.
Thank you for sharing that. That was a real tragedy. And I remember when that happened and watching as it developed. If you could just tell us what the feedback was like from the audience and, of course, the community, and how they perceived the film.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was definitely a mixed bag. We made this film and it was like 2 days and completely student run. We didn't have any adult helping. We had basically no budget. My high school was very supportive, so they did help us with the logistics. But when we put it out there, we were not at all expecting to get as many views as it did, and it did take a while. But now it's at over 500,000 views on
Oh,
YouTube.
wow.
And so obviously, with something that's even slightly political, there's going to be a lot of different opinions out there.
Mm.
Got a lot of hate. I mean, a lot of people saying that it was not really made by teenagers, that it was adults trying to push a political agenda. And I tried to make it very clear, like, no, everyone who worked on this film was under 18. But at the end of the day, it did at least create some sort of reaction, which is what we were going for. We wanted people to see it and remember when they hear the words "Dear America," to remember that when they go to vote, remember the people that are being affected. And so we accomplished that goal. We were able to change at least one person's mind. And so I'm happy with how it turned out.
At least if you could change at least one person's mind. I think it's a very important film. I guess it depends on which side of the aisle you are. We have pro-gun people, and then we have people that are, they want to make changes in the laws. So if you could just tell me, Andy, what was the feedback that you had from the community and the audience as well, and how did they perceive your film?
Yeah, I was very nervous to show it to my community and to my family, people who I know who have experienced this sort of thing. I was more nervous showing it to them than I was screening at any film festival, just because it's their story and it's their life. And Appalachia has been subject to so much poverty porn, is what we call it, where the media just portrays us in this horrible light, and they have since day one. And so it's very important to me that I show a real picture of the community that I know and love. And I wanted them to see it and to think, she did that right. She didn't like make us into caricatures or lie about anything, or make anything more dramatic than it normally is. Like, there's no violence. There's no, I didn't want it to be like a Hollywood drug movie. It's just, this is what people experience every day. And then they still wake up and they go to school or they go to church and they survive their day the way that they can after what has happened to their communities. So showing it was important to people, for me, and I got a lot of really great feedback, and I had some really great conversations, with some recovered addicts and family members of addicts who, you know, they told me how much it meant to them to see this story on screen in a way that is real and relatable to them, which meant the world to me. You know, some people, I had messages from people in Appalachia that were like, this inspired me to tell my own story. It's inspired me to like get back into making art or playing drums or whatever it is. And that means more than any film festival or award I could ever win.
Oh, nice. And if you could just tell me, how did you get the community involved? And I see that I saw that you also had people in the community as actors.
Yeah, I was very inspired by Chloe Zhao, actually. She's one of my favorite filmmakers. I saw songs my brother taught me a while back when I lived in New York, and she used all real people from the reservation to act in the movie. And I was just in awe of that. Just the way that they were able to like give these amazing performances because of their life experience. And I wanted to use people from the community. All the actors are regional. They're all from the Southeast, but I really wanted to bring in some community members, and they were so on board. I mean, everybody I talked to, it was such a community effort. I mean, I would go to sets, the locations that I use, and people would be like, yes, I'll feed you too. Like, everybody just really, really wanted to be a part of telling our own narrative, I think is really what it comes down to. Like, oh, we have control of this for once. Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to get back to you, Molly. Did you use any of the actors in your community, or were any of them non-actors?
Yeah, basically everybody that was in it was either a friend of mine who did a little acting, or a friend of mine that I talked into acting. And all of the background people were all just people who went to my school. And that was mainly just because we didn't have access to a ton of actors. But I actually grew up as an actress in Orlando, doing like commercials and stuff. So I knew a lot of people that acted, and we were able to get Tyranny, who was the little girl in the film, and she was actually on the Vampire Diaries, so she was pretty experienced. But she was the girl. She was the girl with the most experience on the set. So it was a lot of just using my friends.
Oh, nice. And Brownwind Davies, if you could just tell us what was the feedback from the audience and the community as well, and how did they perceive your film?
Yeah, sure thing. It was really an interesting bag in the most positive, wonderful way, because on one side of the spectrum, you had people who were just like absolutely jazzed and pumped, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I miss playing basketball or soccer. Like this has inspired me to get back in and start playing and be physically active. And on the other hand, it really struck a chord with some of these women being like, yes, that is exactly it. That's why I love sports and being physically active. And there were people like crying watching these films and some of these film festivals. I'm like, I don't want you to cry. I'm so sorry. But it's so wonderful as well to strike a chord. And I wanted to create a short film where even if it's one line, to have someone watch it and be like, that's me. Like, I understand, I get that. So reaching such a wide range of women and being able to impact them, and men as well, right? Like I've had fathers come up to me and be like, you know what, I have a daughter, and like doing sports with her is one of my favorite things as a parent. So it's been really incredibly inspiring to hearing how the community has just overall been accepting this film and responding to it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And if you could just tell me, how did you find your muses for the film?
Everyone and anyone around me. And we shot about 12 locations in one day, trying to
Wow.
pack everything in, just trying to show as many different women and people and different organizations within the Vancouver area as possible. And like some of the people in the film I went to film school with, and they're usually behind the camera, but I was like, no, you lift in the gym, just like do it for 30 minutes and let me film it. And some of them were just complete strangers that I found online, that I just pitched the idea to, and they're like, yes. And very similar to
that's
the way of Molly and Andy, of how you both just had people just responding so well, even in pre-production, of how can I get involved? What can I do? You need this location? Great, tell us what time that you want to be there. And so didn't even have to spend a single dollar on any location or talent throughout the entire process, which I am still extremely just in awe of. And it was just very gracious and so much support. And that's kind of when you're like, okay, this is a story. This is something worth it. So let's do it right.
That's great. Were there any challenges that you guys faced that you hadn't experienced before making these projects? And how did you overcome the challenges? Molly?
Okay, so we had several, I mean, obviously there's always some like on-set challenges. But our biggest challenge was definitely getting it out there. This was the film that we wanted for as many people to see it as possible. So we were putting it out on YouTube and putting it on Facebook and all these different places. And it was a struggle at first to get like the views and get people sharing it and all of that. And it took a long time. We spent a lot of work just like cold emailing people and saying, you know, will you share this? And honestly, the thing that did the most was actually film festivals, believe it or not. The film festivals, I thought, you know, since we were making something that was a PSA and it's more like web-based, it's less of like a film. I thought, oh, you know, I don't know how much work film festivals can really do, but it was the film festivals, the press that we got from film festivals, and the interviews like this that you do with film festivals that got it out there. And eventually the Today Show picked it up and did an article about it. And after that, the views went crazy. So, I mean, really, I realized that if you're ever trying to get something out there to a lot of people, start with your film community. That was something that I overlooked, and now I know it is so valuable. And I am so thankful for film festivals like this because it's connecting people, it's, you know, creating those relationships and really giving you people to lean on when you need help with just about anything.
Oh, great. And Andy?
My initial, the initial thing that was a challenge was for me funding. It was very important to me that I paid people because I'm also an artist and I've worked for free a lot, which is great, you know, sometimes when you really believe in something. But going back home and making this film and using people in the region, I wanted them to get paid. It was like very important to me. So I, you know, raised money. I did it myself, like an Indiegogo, and I'd never done that before. So it was a real crash course in fundraising, and it was a full-time job while it was happening. But I learned a lot from it, and I, you know, raised enough money to pay people even just a little bit, which was awesome. And the other big obstacle was on set directing myself. I'd never directed myself on camera. So I didn't really know how that was going to go. It was challenging, like switching hats, you know, you kind of have to like turn on one side of your brain at different times. So that was challenging, but I also had fun doing it. And I had a lot of people who I trusted that were on set with me who like gave me, you know, their thoughts. And it took a longer time to on set because I watched every single thing in playback. So
it worked though somehow.
Yeah, that's how you do it. If anybody wants to know how to direct themselves, just watch all the playback.
Now, was there a reason why you wanted to play the lead role?
Yeah, I had thought about casting someone else when I first started writing it, because I had always said, I'm not going to be one of those actors who directs themselves. I had always said that. And then when I finished writing it, I just felt like I had to do it. It was my story, and I know these people that I'm writing about. And I just not that I didn't trust anybody else to do a good job. I just knew that it was already alive in me, and that I had to do it. And I'm glad I did, because I feel like I feel like I told the story I wanted to tell.
Have you acted before?
Yes, I'm a professional actor. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you looking to act in your other films, or are you just gonna direct now?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm writing a feature and I'm still deciding
Oh, okay.
if I want to direct myself in a feature. I think that I don't know. We'll see when I finish the script. If I am editing a short film that I made during quarantine that I acted and directed in with my niece, but it was a very, like, 3-person shoot, very low budget and on a whim. But in the future, I don't know. I would like to just direct and have that experience too.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And
Thank you.
Brownwyn, if you can share your challenges and your experience with us.
Totally. I was extremely lucky in making this short film. This was actually a passion project of mine that I did on the side of my desk, and I'm very, very, very gracious to have had the support from the production company that I work with here in Vancouver, The Heist, and it was very much like, Bronwyn, make something that you're passionate about, and I was like, dang, okay, let's go. So kind of approaching that, and this is a topic that is so incredibly important and special to me. So the pre-production and the script writing was actually probably the toughest part, just wanting to get it right. And this isn't a topic that I wanted to try making 10 times and eventually get it right. I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to do it right the first time. So once I kind of figured out the script and how I wanted it to look and feel like, after that, it just flew, which was awesome. And it was a 3-person crew. So all of us just in a van, ripping around Vancouver, trying to get as much footage with as much different women as possible. And then after that, it was just me sitting in a dark room in front of a computer editing away. So this is very much just from beginning to the end, my complete baby. And it took a long time, just when one person really is the driving force of every single step of the process. But overall, I also just want to acknowledge that I've been very, very lucky to have the support that I've had. So definitely couldn't have done it without it.
And you also were the editor for this film.
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah. My fingerprint is all over this film.
You guys wear many hats.
Oh yeah.
That's very exciting. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And what do you want people to take away from your film? And do you think that filmmakers have the responsibility to tell these particular stories?
Totally. I mean, I think that something that I find really important to me as a director is recognizing the gap in content. And the gap in content can look like anything. It can look like who's in front of the camera, what the story's being told, how is it being told, just looking at something and being like, how can I make this different, and how can I make this resonate differently with as many different kinds of people as possible? So I think that's super important when trying to come up with an idea, whether that's writing a script or approaching directing. What was the original question?
That's okay. What do you want people to take away from your film?
That's
and
right.
Do you think that filmmakers have a responsibility to tell these particular stories?
Totally. Well, so am I going to answer even answer the question? Who knows? Someone will have to watch it on YouTube and let me know if I answered it. But I definitely think that there is a responsibility as creative folk to tell the world as they see it. I think that especially different perspectives will only help broaden the horizons of creative work. So I definitely feel that responsibility, especially just because I feel like that's an exceptional way to grow as a director. And I'm sure these ladies feel it as well, given the awesome stories as well. Mm-hmm.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. And I just want to ask you guys where people can find your work and your new projects that you're currently working on, or projects that you're planning on working on in the future, and also where they can find you on social media or your website.
Yeah, so I post a lot of my work on YouTube. It's Mollywood Films, and my Instagram is where I post about upcoming film projects. I post castings on there sometimes and just updates about everything I'm doing. So that is mollywood.films.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And Andy?
Yeah, so I have a website, andymorrow.com, where you can find, links to all of my social media, my film, and keep up with me there. Pusherfilm.com is the website for Pusher, and you can find the full film on there. I decided to post it for free online, and I'm hoping that instead of going through a service that people would have to rent it, instead, if they feel compelled, underneath the film there is an organization that provides free and affordable health care to people in Appalachia, Big Sandy Medical Group. So if anybody watches the film and feels inspired and able to donate, that would be amazing to help them continue to help people in Appalachia.
Oh, great. And you're currently working right now, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm in my car. I'm working, I work on sets. I do different production jobs in Los Angeles. So I'm working on a photo shoot today and had to sneak away in my car. But you can I'll be posting my short film hopefully soon. Then I'm the one I'm editing. So follow me on social media. I'm on all the social medias. Just find Andy Morrow. I'll be there and I'll post updates.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
Brownwood?
Yeah, totally. So I am primarily a director and editor for online content and commercial work. So the production company that I am a part of is The Heist. So you can find us at theheist.ca. You can see more work that I've directed and edited on there. So that's my professional side. And then my personal side is you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Bwin Davies. I mostly post pictures of mountains just because that's my Vancouver side coming out. But that's where you can find me in my personal life. And then, yeah, I've currently slated to direct a couple things in the upcoming couple months. So if you follow us on The Heist, we're also on Vimeo. You can see that crop up. And we're also on Instagram, of course.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for joining us today. To our audiences, you can watch these films on our website at imaginethisprods.com. Once again, thank you so much, ladies.